So in the last class regarding the financial market, we saw about the meaning and the definition of financial market, then scope of financial market as well as the types of financial market. These are the previous class. What is the meaning of financial market? What is the definition? As well as what are the areas which are covered by the financial market and various types of financial market. This and that we saw in the previous class. Today, the two other topics, namely role of financial market, that is 4.04 and 4.05, the functions of financial market. These are the two areas today we are going to see. The role of financial market is very important because of the acceleration of the economic development of the country. For each and every country, the development depends upon the dynamic and resilient financial market is very important. Or the acceleration of the economic development depends upon the availability of the financial market. It is one of the important requisites for the acceleration of the development of economy. So depends upon the functioning of the financial market. It should be a dynamic and a resilient one for the development of the nation. The following are the role played by the financial market for the acceleration of economic development. The important role played by the financial market for the acceleration of the economic development in the following ways. Number one, savings mobilization. So obtaining various funds from various savers, obtaining of various sources of savings of funds, namely household, business finance, public sector units, and even the government. The financial market playing an important role from obtaining of funds or collection of funds from various savers, those who are having a surplus amount of funds, namely household, business finance, public sector units, and even the government. So the savings should be collected, or the amount of surplus funds collected by the financial market is a very important role for the collection of idle money. Then the second function is investment. Once the amount collected by way of the savings of various people or various categories of people, it should not be an idle one. It should be utilized in the investment purposes. So financial market making a necessary arrangements. Financial market making a necessary arrangements for investing of funds which are thus collected from various sources of savers. It should be invested in various fields wherever the funds needed. The amount that's collected from various sources, you should not be deposited or kept idle one. So for that, financial market making necessary arrangements for investing of the same where the sources of funds is very much needed. One side, collection of funds, the surplus funds, and that should be utilized for the funds wherever they needed. Then third one, national growth. The another important role nowadays played by the financial market is the growth of nation or national growth. Financial market contribute for the national growth. How it is possible means by way of flowing of funds from the surplus to deficit, flowing of funds from the surplus to deficit. That means that the funds collected wherever it is available as a surplus fund. Then the amount collected so far under these savings, it should be circulated, it should be supplied to the deficit where the funds required. Not only that, and the amount should be placed for the productive purposes. The amount given or supplied by the financial market in the form of investment should be placed for the productive purposes. That means the increasing of the level of production of the country. Once the productive level increases, automatically it will lead to economic growth of the nation. So, financial market contribute the national growth by way of flowing of funds from surplus to deficit sectors, and that should be placed for the productive purposes only, not for any other purposes. So, the production purposes leads to overall economic growth of the nation. So, in such a way, the role played by the financial market for the national growth. Then, not only the development of the growth of nation, as well as the entrepreneurship growth. So, the financial market contributes the development of entrepreneurial growth. How it is possible? By way of providing of funds or financial assistance by way of the financial sources. The funds thus collected from various sources should be supplied or utilized by the entrepreneurship in the productive purposes. Then automatically the entrepreneurial development also be taken place for like national growth. In other words, we can say the national growth depends upon the growth of entrepreneurship. In any country, how the entrepreneurial growth is developed, that in such a level only the national growth will be taken place. So, depends upon the entrepreneurship growth or entrepreneurial growth, the national growth will be taken place. Then, industrial development, next role played by the financial market for the development of industries. So, the financial market takes to the acceleration of industrial development. So, industrial development is by way of establishment of more industries. So, which is highly requirements of finance for short term, medium term as well as long term loans or long term finance. Short term, medium term and long term source of finance provided by the financial market for various number of industries. It may be a Chinese sector or small scale or medium scale or large scale industries. So, the overall industrial development can be taken place by way of providing various sources of finance. So that it is possible by the role of the financial market. Once the industrial development taken place, it will lead to the economic development of the nation. Once industrial development taken place means the standard of living of the people goes on increasing. Once the standard of living of the people increase means the society also developed, the well-being of society. So not only the development of an individual as well as the society well-being. So industrial development can be taken place by the role of financial market. So by way of providing various sources of funds and providing assistance to small scale, medium scale and large scale undertakings. So it should be developed the acceleration of industrial development, and once the industrial development taken place, economic development automatically develop. And the economic development taken place, the standard of living of the people increased as well as the society well-being. So these are the role played by the financial market. Number one, savings mobilization. Number two, investment. Then national growth, entrepreneurship growth, as well as the industrial development. These are the role played by the financial market. Then the next topic is 4.05 functions of financial market. So the functions performed by the financial market may be categorized or classified by two functions or two categories, namely intermediary function as well as the financial function. The functions provided by or performed by the financial market are classified into two major headings, namely intermediary function and the financial function. First of all, we are going to see about what are the intermediary functions performed by the financial market. Number one, transfer of resources. transfer of financial resources. Financial market facilitates the flow of funds from lender to the borrowers. Lender to the borrower. Those who are having surplus amount of money that are collected by the financial market and should be supplied the same to the borrowers or the actual needed people, that is users of funds. So we simply say transfer of funds from the lender to the borrowers, the very important function. Then second one, enhancement of income of the individual as well as national income. Enhancement means increasing the level of income of the individual as well as the national income. So the financial market allow the investors, those who are having surplus amount of money, they invested their funds, they get the income in the form of interest and dividend. The surplus amount of money invested by the savers and get the amount income in the form of interest and dividend. So it will helps to increase the income of the individual. Once the income of the individual increases, then automatically the national income also increased. So this is the second one, enhancement of income of the individuals, investors as well as the national income. Then productive usage. The amount collected by the financial market from various sources that should be utilized for only the productive purposes, and the investment allow only the engagement of the productive activities. Once the productive activity increase means it increases the level of gross national product. Not only increasing the gross national product and increasing the income of the country also. Once the product is increased, then income of the nation also increased. So the amount that is collected from various sources that should be placed by the investors, the financial market making an arrangements, it should be placed only for the productive purposes, productive activity only. Once the involvement of the funds in the productive activities, it should lead to increasing the level of production at various levels. Once the product has increased, then income of the country also increased by way of selling of goods and services produced by the respective industries. Then capital formation. Capital formation. The financial market provides a channel of savings to investment. So making the necessary arrangements or provisions by the financial market, flowing of funds from savings into investment. Wherever it is available as surplus, that should be collected and the same should be invested wherever it is needed. So capital formation means amount has been invested through various channels. Then price determination. The price determination means the financial assets, the determination of the financial assets through the demand and supply and buyers and sellers. So there are two parties, namely the buyer of the financial asset and the seller of financial asset. There is an interaction will be taken place with the help of or the efforts are taken by the financial market, or otherwise the financial market making taking of the necessary efforts. The interaction between the buyers and sellers of financial assets. The financial assets of the price of the financial assets are determined by the demand and the supply level. Depends upon the demand and the supply level, the prices of the financial asset will be determined. So for that, the function of financial market is very important. It is acting as an intermediary between the buyer and the seller of financial assets. So the financial market acting as an intermediary between the buyer and the seller of financial securities or financial instruments. The determination of the financial securities will be taken place. So the price will be determined by the demand and the supply factors. Depends upon the demand and the supply of the money. The prices of financial assets will be decided. Once, for example, if the demand increased but supply is not there. Demand increased but supply is not there means the prices of the demand of the financial is needed but supply is less means there will be a increase in financial assets. The value of financial asset goes on increasing because demand are increased but supply is less. On the other hand, if the demand is less but the supply is more, then automatically the prices of the financial securities will be less. So in such a way, the prices of the financial asset has been determined. Then financial market acting as a sale mechanism. It provides the sale of financial assets by way of investment. So providing offer or benefits availability for the marketability and the liquidity of financial assets. So those who want to buy or the sale of financial assets that should be taken place in the financial market. The sale of financial assets by way of investors and offer and the benefit should be available depends upon the marketability and the liquidity of financial assets. So simply said the financial market providing facilities or making arrangements for the sale of financial assets by the investors. And the last one is supplying of information. So regarding the position of the financial market, there is a need of information for the participants of the financial market. Those who are participating in the financial market, there should be a need of financial information. So that should be supplied by the financial market. So the number of participants are involved in the financial market by way of buying and selling of financial assets. So that they supply the information, all the participants, whether they may be a buyers of financial securities or whether they may be a sellers of financial securities or any other participants. So all the participants of the financial market get the information by way of the functions of the financial market. So that it acts as an intermediary, financial market acting as an intermediary between the buyers and sellers as well as any other participants in the financial market. So these are the 6 important functions which are come under the intermediary function only. Then the next topic will be a financial function. Then before that, the role of financial market also explained. So go through the portion of this lesson from page number 23 to 26.